So when you write this book, I mean, God's really laid it upon your heart to address women within Islam. And are you writing the book to women, trying to encourage them, or who really is your audience as you're putting this together?
I appreciate that question so much, and I'll tell you why. When an author sets out to write their proposal and pitch it to a publisher, um, one of the first things we have to determine is our target audience. And you have to understand, I came from the front lines. In many ways, I felt, and not to compare myself unfairly to our great warriors and veterans and those who are serving in military service, but in many ways I felt on a spiritual level like someone who had come from the front lines with a burning hot message for the American church. And to straddle that was a little tricky because I hadn't been serving in the American church for over a decade, and my experience was different. And I didn't quite, I needed to put my finger on the pulse of the American church for a while just to understand where they were. And so when I came to my American publisher, they didn't quite know what to do with me. They loved the stories, but I told them from the beginning my heart was to create a tool for other workers like myself
Hmm.
that I wish I'd had when I was beginning. I wanted to
Hmm.
create a tool for men and women because Travis, it's not really appropriate for you
Hmm.
to directly minister to a Muslim woman because ministry is divided along gender lines, regardless of how we feel about the equal value of men and women. But the practicality is in Muslim cultures, our ministry is divided along gender lines. However, you have a powerful immeasurable testimony to Muslim women. They are watching the way you treat your wife. They are watching the way you behave toward them. They are watching the way that you behave in society. It doesn't mean you don't have an influence in their lives. So this book needed to be for men and women, and I wanted it to be a tool, particularly for workers. I wanted to create something I wish I'd had. And I wanted to do that through stories because I feel that they are a megaphone for theology. It is
Yeah.
surely a sin to bore people with the beautiful theology of God. So why not tell a story to illustrate it? so so that was my goal. But when I told my publisher that, um, it didn't really that kind of thing sell. That
Hmm.
kind of, and we do have to at the end of the day when we're talking about books. So often publishers do have to think about that. And so they asked me, well, could you bring this message to the American church? Could you help them understand it? So my target audience on paper, my publishers understand this, so this isn't news to them. If you're watching out there, my publisher and I decided that my target audience would be women in the American church. Well, of course, God is sovereign and He knew what He was doing. He knew He was raising up a whole new group of women here in the U.S. who had a heart for the Muslims in their neighborhoods and their communities. And so, indeed, it was accurate. But when I wrote it, I had every one of those women whose stories I share, I had them in my heart. I had everyone whom I'm still praying they would come to know Jesus as their Lord and Savior. I had them in my mind. I wanted any woman to pick up that book and feel welcome and to feel that she could identify with it, whether she is a woman who is experiencing shame here in Western culture, whether she is a Muslim woman who has been rejected by her family in the Muslim world, whether she is a woman who has been in the church for a long time, knowing she's forgiven, but still carries a great deal of shame and doesn't know what to do with it.